Oh, hi! I didn't notice you there. Christmas is upon us. It's a time to eat too much, decorate large plants, and use winter sales as an excuse to buy stuff for yourself. And you know, I realized something. I've never actually done a Christmas video for my channel before. I mean, Christmas doesn't really lend itself as well to gaming as Halloween does, certainly, but there is a licensed video game that I've never actually played based off of one of my favorite classic Christmas films, The Nightmare Before Christmas. Along with Joan and Vasquez comics, it's an integral part of every early 2000s goth kid starter kit. But you know, I was a fan of this thing before it became popular with the Hot Topic crowd.
Hey babe. How many hipsters does it take to screw in a light bulb?
I don't have to take this from you.
Yeah, you do.
Yeah, I do. But setting aside for a moment all these Skellington and printed ephemera, people often forget how great this movie really is. It is as pure a Tim Burton themed acid trip as it's possible to have. The character designs are gorgeous, the animation is masterwork, and every single song holds up amongst Danny Elfman's best compositions. It really is that good. Plus it works as a Christmas film and a Halloween film, although I'd say it's more of a Christmas film with spooky overtones. If you somehow still haven't seen it because either you weren't alive when it came out, or you ignored it due to the annoying ubiquity as previously mentioned, you really should give it a watch. It's a true classic. And of course, a movie that good is bound to have a video game tie-in. 11 years later. Yeah, despite it being pretty well loved nowadays, test audiences apparently hated the thing, and it didn't exactly smash the old box office. And for a while, Disney didn't know what to do with it. It was a little too creepy for younger kids, while ostensibly being a children's holiday film.
The preview was a disaster, and I remember being in the elevator and the producer and some of the executives going, well, kids hate it. Oh well, it was this kind of like sad feeling in the elevator, and I knew it was wrong, but there's nothing you can do. They put it in front of a bunch of kids that were expecting a Disney animation. And obviously, they were expecting something closer to The Lion King or Little Mermaid, and they were getting Nightmare Before Christmas.
So jump forward to the early 2000s and Capcom wants to cash in on that new popularity. And hell, when I was growing up, they were the go-to for kick-ass Disney games. They could basically do no wrong. For the most part. But of course, that was then, and this is now. So how would a Capcom from the PlayStation 2 and Xbox era handle a Disney license for a movie that's over a decade old at this point? Well, let's find out with The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge for the PlayStation 2. The game begins with a very abbreviated recreation of the film's opening sequence.
Was a long time ago. Longer now than it seems, in a place that perhaps you've seen in your dreams. Now you've probably wondered where holidays come from. If you haven't, I'd say it's time you begun.
Holidays come from Capcom. Well, you learn something new every day. We join the denizens of Halloween Town on October 31st, apparently 1 year after the events of the film.
Another magnificent Halloween, Jack.
This year's Halloween was the most horrible yet!
Despite this year's Halloween being magnificent, Jack is once again not satisfied, because of course he fucking isn't. But at least this year he's opted to stay in his own damned lane and improve his assigned holiday, rather than continuing to make life difficult for other people like some sort of Halloween-themed Bobby Flay. So of course his first stop is Dr. Finkelstein's for a little bit of advice.
After last year, we can't just do the same old thing. We should all be inspired to do something different. We need new scares, new ideas, new discoveries.
New discoveries, eh? I think I have just the kind of thing you're talking about. I call it the soul robber. Take it, Jack. I'm sure it will come in handy.
Oh! Amazing!
I mean, okay. That's neat and all, but how does that help him improve Halloween? I mean, I'd use it all the time to grab remotes and shit. Who knows? Maybe the doc just wanted to free up some counter space. Jack decides to leave town in search of new discoveries for next year's Halloween, and he asks the good doctor to watch over things in his absence.
Oh, Doctor, please watch after things while I'm away.
Oh, now I'm certainly looking forward to next Halloween.
Do I detect a note of sarcasm?
Are you kidding me? This baby is off the charts. Why?
Oh, a sarcasm detector. Oh, that's a really useful invention.
And of course, immediately after hearing the news, Lock, Shock, and Barrel decide to resurrect Oogie Boogie, because for some reason nobody saw fit to decapitate them in the intervening year. Live and learn, I guess. We jump forward in time, and Jack returns to town seemingly empty-handed. Could they have at least given the man a bindle or a sack with some stuff he found on his trip? I don't know, maybe a t-shirt that says, "I survived St. Patrick's Day town and all I got was this lousy t-shirt"? Okay, well, he comes back to town and he's immediately accosted by skeletons.
Story of my life.
And Oogie declaring himself the king of Oogie Town. Okay, come on now, like, he can do better than that. How about Boogieburg? Oogtropolis? Ooh, I got one. How about New Booghaven? You see, it's this lack of vision that will be his downfall. But also my snot whip.
Yeah, I got some boogie for him. A wink.
The combat is pretty damn basic. Initially, you can swing your mucus lash twice, which then can be upgraded at a shop using soul coins.
We've got some prime heads and torsos, but they'll cost you an arm and a leg.
These coins can be earned by defeating enemies or just found scattered around the different areas. You can also charge up the attack on your snot sling, and I guess that might do more damage, but I didn't notice much of a difference, so I didn't really use it. If you rotate the left analog stick and then attack, you'll do this spin move that does less damage, but it hits multiple enemies at once. This is also really good for building up your combo meter. The higher the combo, the more soul coins you get for killing enemies. Or you can use the triangle button to grab objects and enemies and fling them around. And after playing this game, you will never forget what Jack's weapon is called, because he says it every goddamned time you use it. This can also be charged up for what is probably the most useful move in the entire game. Jack proclaims himself the Pumpkin King and proceeds to do a massive spin attack that absolutely wrecks all their shit. And if you feel like being extra cheap, and I know I do, first you can acquire these blue souls that strengthen the soul robber for a short amount of time. You can have up to 5 of them on you at once, and if you use one right before your grip runs out, you can just keep going. It's not even remotely fair. And sometimes enemies just drop them in the middle of a spin. This, of course, comes in handy when these boneheads forget their place. There's a dodge move that isn't particularly well implemented. I mean, sometimes it'll get you out of trouble, but mostly it just feels pretty damn useless. Well, anyway, after whipping dem bones, you immediately start the first boss fight with Shadow Oogie.
Shuggy?
And here is where one of the game's main issues starts to become more apparent. So, The Nightmare Before Christmas is primarily a musical with some connective tissue holding it together. But the question is, how do you do a sequel to a movie musical with music that's this iconic? Well, you either pay out the ass to get Danny Elfman to come back and write some new songs, or you largely repurpose what you already have.
Can you guess which option they chose?
Yeah, so Daniel Elfman Esquire is not back for this game in any capacity. Not that I really expected him to be.
I mean, the dude wrote the Batman theme. But that leaves us with 2 major problems.
1, he's not writing any new songs. Duh. And 2, he's not singing any of the existing ones. People forget that Jack had a different person voicing him when he spoke versus when he sang. Here we have poor Chris Sarandon, who was his speaking voice in the film, doing his best Danny impression. And you know, I had forgotten that he was also Prince Humperdinck in The Princess Bride, so a little trivia for you there. So here they attempt to twist Oogie's song, best song in the movie, Don't At Me, into something that fits this situation with mixed results? I wouldn't exactly call it putrid, but it definitely caused some inadvertent facial spasms.
It's over! It's over! This time you've gone too far! It's over! I'm serious! Just who do you think you are?
And since this game is a sequel to a musical, they decided to make the boss fights 2-phased. First you hit the boss for some damage, but then you'll also notice that they start to bleed rainbow musical notes. Once you've acquired enough of these notes, you enter a rhythm game section. And it's here where Jack will do most of his damage by musicking them to death. Provided you don't fuck up the timing, which I almost invariably did. And honestly, I just don't think these parts are particularly well designed. I mean, I'm no slouch when it comes to music games, but I just kept missing notes. My TV was set to game mode for maximum responsiveness, so either I suck or it's the game's fault.
Thanks, Obama.
Luckily, it's not actually required to progress, so you can continue to be terrible and still win by simply giving him a good spanking. Shadow Oogie fades away, but alas, our princess is in another castle. We've only just begun. Now, what we get from the game proper is a vaguely Devil May Cry inspired action game, right down to the fixed camera angles, combo system, and chapter structure. And I mean, it makes sense, since, they're both made by Capcom. Now, if only the combat were as good as it were in even the first Devil May Cry. Oh, and there's no jump button at all in this game, so you'll have to rely on the
Soul Robber
slinging you across gaps, or your dodge move to land Jack where he needs to be. Luckily, the platforming is pretty basic because combat really is the focus. And this once again brings us back to our music-related troubles. Okay, so for about the first half of the game or so, during fights you'll hear the classic song, "This is Halloween," lyrics and all. Luckily, the song is non-specific enough that they don't really need to change any of the words, so at least we're safe there. But the problem is that there is a lot of fighting in this game, so you're going to be hearing it constantly. You'll run into new and old areas only to be greeted by the sound. Honestly, after a while, I began to dread getting into fights, which isn't great for an action game. And on top of all of that, they didn't license the original version of the song, and only a couple of the original vocalists were able to come back and reprise their roles. It gives the whole thing this off-brand dollar store feel that doesn't quite sit right. Now let's contrast that with another PlayStation 2 game, Kingdom Hearts. Both games have areas that take place in Halloween Town and borrow music from the film, but here they very wisely opted for an all-new composition for the battle theme. It's entirely instrumental, and while it wasn't originally from the movie, it fits so perfectly that you'd be forgiven for thinking that it might have been in there. As a result, getting into battles in Kingdom Hearts never made me wish for the sweet release of death. The moment-to-moment happenings of the story are largely irrelevant. You'll have to find some hanging men for the hanging tree. You need to pick up some fallen tombstones. Capture some vampire bats. There are hidden places to find, conveniently referred to as hidden places. Some of these are required to complete the story, and others just contain extra items such as golden pumpkins that upgrade Jack's life bar, or these crystal skulls that can be traded for crystal bottles. These bottles can be filled with the town's green water, and drinking it instantly refills your entire health bar, which is neat. As you continue, you'll gain new abilities. The first of which is Jack's Pumpkin King costume, which allows you to breathe fire and create explosions. This will allow you to clear certain burnable objects and deal a lot of damage. The only drawback is that this requires ammunition in the form of red souls. They can be purchased from the witch's shop or are also dropped by enemies, but that's rare. The combat also suffers from two major compounding issues. First, the fixed camera angles make it really difficult to gauge where enemies are in relation to Jack. A lot of the time I'd be whipping it good and making no contact at all. Or I'd charge the grab attack and let it go, only to be left holding nothing. Now, there is a lock-on system that will occasionally help with that. Unfortunately, a lot of the time it makes it quite a bit worse. So you see, Jack will lock onto whatever interactable object is closest to him, be that an enemy or something else entirely. So if you're close to a tombstone that needs to be lifted while fighting a swarm of skellies, you'll be fruitlessly swinging at that grave while attempting to not get boned. It's more than a little frustrating, and yes, I do use skeleton humor as a coping mechanism. Thank you for noticing. So when I was a little bit more than halfway through the game, I started to notice something. This game with Christmas in the title has a distinct lack of Christmas. I mean, nothing against Halloween Town, but the contrast between the holidays is part of the charm of the movie. And this is supposed to be my Christmas video.
Sarah?
Yes, babe?
Where's Christmas?
I don't know.
Oh, but they changed the battle music.
And it's worse!
Take our time back, take our time back, take our time back.
It's kind of like when you get a song really badly stuck in your head and you just start making up bullshit lyrics while you're doing other things.
Making sandwich, la la la. It's tuna this time.
Just me?
Now, some of you may be asking, why didn't they write any original songs? Well, they did.
This town has changed, my boy, since you've been away. Without a pumpkin king, it's Oogie Boogie's way.
Now let's never speak of it again. Oh shit, I forgot to mention there is a third ability. You do get Jack's Santa outfit, and the ability to toss present bombs. So there, we finally get a quarter teaspoon of Christmas in our Christmas game. Hooray! It's not really effective in combat, and other than one section where they force you to use it in the most awkward way possible, I never saw a reason to use it. It's dumb and I hate it! Hell, I only upgraded it to see what would happen when the witch was out of stock, and the answer is, she tells me that she's out of stock. Eventually you'll get to a second boss fight with the old Boogie Man, and once again they mangle the best song in the film. I don't want to hear it, Deborah! And it turns out that he's not satisfied in simply being the leader of Oogie Town. So he's captured the other holiday leaders in order to become the 7 Holidays King. You kick him in the sack for the second time and, yep, turns out he wasn't actually there. And you'll have to go find him in Christmas Town?
Christmas? Oh, what's this? What's this?
But alas, we're not out of Halloween just yet. There's still like 5 chapters to go. You know what? Fuck it.
Oh, it's Christmas!
Oh yeah, this is what I'm talking about. The snow, the lights, it's so refreshing. Maybe we could have gotten here a little bit earlier, But my joy is short-lived because we're treated to yet another fan rendition of a classic Disney song. So instead of, what's this? We get, oh no, because is bad things happened. In this level, you have to find Christmas ornaments and return them to an elf. End of level.
Oh no! Oh no! There's something very wrong! Oh no! These things here don't belong! Oh no!
And finally, we're face to face with the genuine article, Oogie Boogie in the burlap. And this douche de Noel has strung up old St. Nick. And rather than just killing him, there's this weird plan that involves a scissor train cutting a rope. You kill the train and you save Father Christmas, and you're done in Christmas Town.
Yep.
But you know, at least the end is in sight, because after all that, we only have the final boss fight left. And it's actually pretty easy. You fight a giant Oogie in the middle of some weird wreckage. You can either flambe him with your Pumpkin King outfit, or if you prefer, there's the much slower method of hacking away at his legs Tower Knight style. You wait for him to fall on his gut, and then you smack him in the face, and then you repeat that. But trust me, just roast the old sack of crap. And with that, we've completed the Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh, god damn it! I knew something was missing. Yeah, so the final phase of this fight is not only yet another music section, but it's the most bullshit music section in the entire game. I already told you that I wasn't exactly acing these, but here they just threw the previous rules out the window because fuck you. This time, missing notes doesn't decrease the damage that you do. Oh no, that'd be far too easy. Every time you miss a note, you take damage. There's no way to heal yourself, and if you lose all of your life, game over. You get to start back at the beginning of the fight. Merry fucking Christmas. Now, most of the fight is pretty manageable, but there was something about this last section that just kept kicking my ass. And what's kind of sad here is that if this weren't the third time we've heard this song, and if the rhythm sections weren't completely hosed, this might have been a cool little finale. But eventually I managed to finish him off once and for all. The end.
So, Tim Burton's The Nightmare Before Christmas, Oogie's Revenge. How was it? It's not too bad.
Yeah, I know I ragged on it a lot, but if you remove the many musical issues that I had, what you're left with is a pretty good PS2 action game. As long as you can handle mid-tier games from that era, it's fine. It's a pretty standard length, but there's a lot to discover, like the various items and upgrades, and there's even a bunch of collectibles you can get for getting A ranks in the various stages. And doing so will get you some spiffy new costumes for Jack, so you can spend a lot of time improving your scores, or you could do what I did and cheat.
Man, I was hoping that would get me in the Christmas spirit. Well, at least I can drink myself happy on some homemade eggnog and binge the Christmas classics. And however you choose to celebrate, alone or with the ones you love, please don't lose sight of the true reason for the season. Blatant commercialism. See you next time.